Okay, babe, I have a question. Did you ever play Never Have I Ever?
Yes, I have.
You have, okay. You played it innocently, or you played it like kind of crazy college dorm,
No, innocently for sure. Like in classrooms where people are just trying to get to know you.
like middle school type thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. I
I
get
not
it.
even middle school, probably high school.
What's a Never Have I Ever? Hit me real quick. Go. Never have I ever.
Said I love you to anybody else but you.
Ooh, okay. Same for me. Well, I only meant it with you. So I'm kidding. You know what? Honestly, I've only said it to you.
May
For real,
your
for real.
tongue burn for the rest of the
Dang,
night.
that's crazy. The truth is always going to come out in the living room. I asked the question, babe, because you and I were talking about this recently about just having non-negotiables in our life. And I think a lot of times we play Never Have I Ever, but non-negotiables in any relationship, in anyone's life, it doesn't have to be just romantic. Non-negotiables say never will we ever, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to talk about in the living room today. Welcome to the living room. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
I love when you say that. Welcome to the living room, where we have real conversations for every space of life that you might be living in. And we hope these conversations are helping you go further, faster. I'll tell you what, babe. I was listening to the last episode we dropped on how to stop being codependent.
Yeah.
And man, I wish we had this type of content 20 years ago.
Yeah,
right?
for
When
sure.
we were working through stuff. And so that's our heart, y'all. Like, our heart for everyone who engages with our content is this, that you would get further faster than we did, and that you can benefit from our mistakes.
Yeah, for sure. Get further faster, cry less tears, lose less time.
Jeez, lose more weight. I'm just kidding.
That's okay.
I'm just playing. So never have we ever, but let's talk about that. Let's talk about the importance of non-negotiables in any type of relational interaction, whether it's professional, whether it's social, platonic, friends, romantic, marriage, etc., family. Non-negotiables are super important. It's, when I think about non-negotiables, I think about something that you talk about very, very often and very passionately. You talk about boundaries.
Yeah.
Often and passionately. Why? Like, why do you care about boundaries so much? And here's my second question. Why did you know about boundaries before I did?
You know what? I think it's because my personality could be very passive. And I'm just considered to be like, oh, she's nice, she'll do it. And I usually did. I would say, yes, yeah, I can do it. The group project, I'm the one that's doing everything. And then everybody would just show up. And if I didn't have to present, like verbally, I would probably be like, it's fine, I'll do it all, but just you present. So I think as I was growing up, I realized that I had a really hard time saying no. And I had a really hard time just, I guess, valuing myself in whatever environment I was in.
Let me ask you this question. Were you a yes person, like a yes man, or were you someone who just couldn't say no to people? Because I think there's a difference between a yes man and someone who can't say no.
No, I was not a yes man for sure. But I just felt bad, and I'm like, I'll just do it. It's not a big deal.
Someone's got to do it.
Yeah, I always felt like, oh, don't worry, I can do it.
Yeah, and for those of you that are kind of like on the cliff, I left you on the cliffhanger there talking about yes man. A yes man is someone who is so passive, and I mean, yes man, yes woman, but it's always like yes man, right? Yes people, who will always agree with like an authority figure or a person they're trying to get in good graces with.
Yeah, no matter what,
for the sake of getting clout or getting access or getting good favor from that person.
Or not ruffling any feathers.
Yeah, that's what it is, right? Versus someone who just can't say no. I think those are two different things. Because you were never a yes person. As long as you and I have been together, the truth is that's one of the things that really, really drew me to you. That even when we were super young, like 19, 20, 21 years old, like you would call me on my stuff. Like you would say like, man, that's not it, bro. That's not it at all. But you were always willing to go along. I'll tell a story. I'll tell a story about my lowrider era.
Oh my
right?
gosh.
So here's what you need to understand.
If you drive a lowrider, I'm sorry. I hate those cars.
Well, listen, first of all, I don't know that lowriders are that big a deal. I think they're an endangered species, but you have to understand this. So I grew up in East Los Angeles, South Orange County, right? And so for me, lowrider culture was a big deal, right? And so lowrider,
I
like
thought it was the only car you could afford.
no. I could
You
afford.
actually picked it?
It's more expensive to have a lowrider type of setup.
I'm shocked right
than
now.
it is.
I
Than it
can't
is to
believe
have
you
just,
actually
like, normal.
picked that vehicle.
Yeah, I've always loved that. Like, man, like I loved it. So here's the thing. If you don't know what a lowrider is a car that
Google.
Yeah, Google it. Google lowrider. So I had a little Nissan Sentra that had on like 13-inch wheels, and like that's literally the size of the rim.
It's
right there.
literally this far off the ground.
Thus
You have
lowrider.
to like roll in
Yeah.
and roll out. You
Yeah.
can't even step out of it.
I was being faithful to my hood roots, man. You know, like I'm
Now
a body.
I'm mad. Like before, I
Don't
just
be
felt
mad.
sorry for you. I thought, I mean, okay,
Bro.
that's all you can afford. But now you're telling me
No.
after 20
You
years
have-
that you chose that.
Yeah, I did
Oh,
choose it.
Now I'm
I
mad
did- I
at you.
choo-
Ugh, I'm so mad.
I did choose it. Well, look, see, this is what I mean. She's not a yes person, right? Because like she's not trying to find like try to understand like, oh, so like why were you drawn to it? Like immediately, Diana's gonna tell you what she's thinking immediately, right? Unless it's time for someone who needs help, Diana's always gonna just be. What she was saying, right? Like someone who wants to help, even if it comes at her detriment. But so here's the thing, right? So I'm a barrio kid, right? So like I grew up in the barrio, and in that dynamic and in that demographic, like lowriders are a really great thing to this day. And I'm gonna probably make you even madder in our 60s when we like when we're like old and gray, older, maybe not as gray, but like in my heart. I have a dream of restoring a 1964 Chevy Impala in our garage.
Like those long ones?
It's hard to explain it to you. Like, but if you know,
I'll
right?
Google
Like,
it.
so hit me in the comments if you're a real one, right? If you're about
Can
this
I
life.
wear a cute scarf?
Oh, for sure
and
you
sunglasses?
can. No, 1
Then
million
maybe.
percent. No, yeah,
Maybe.
1,000,000%. It's totally
Maybe.
it's a super cool vintage, and it's a really cool era in American history. Anyways, we digress, right? Here's the issue. When I say that Diana was not a yes person, but she was a person who had really bad boundaries or had non-existing boundaries when it came to just helping. One of the things with my lowrider was that my tires would wear out all the time, literally like every 2 or 3 months. I was having to buy new tires. And here's the thing, like lowriders are not because you're broke. Lowriders actually, and that whole type of like pimp my ride type vibe is actually costs more, right? And so there's specialty wheels, specialty tires. For those of you that maybe you're wondering, I had a 88 spoke Dayton triple gold low pro, and so 13-inch low pros, right? So yeah, man, triple gold. It was incredible. Triple gold 88 spoke is what it was. Anyway, that was like 25 years ago. So my tires would go out all the time. And now I was on the struggle bus for sure. And so there were times where it's just like, yo, I can't come see you. I need to buy new tires, blase, blase. And she was like, all right, here's my debit card number. Just buy some new tires so you could come see me.
Yeah.
Right. And so like, I mean, we look back and I'm like, man, my chick, like I would think back then, man, my chick is down, ride or die. But the truth is that's a bad boundary because we weren't even married yet.
Yeah, that was super toxic.
Super.
I'm
Like
glad
you
I
spent
married
thousands of dollars on tires.
dumb
for me.
tires.
Those dumb tires, for sure. Anyways, eventually I got rid of them. But I think that's a really funny story that I'm reminded, like, man, you were so ready to help. You didn't even think twice. You just
Right.
like jumped in. Yeah, let's go. Let's do it. And I think in the process as we've grown up, you're the one who embraced non-negotiables before I did, because I was very comfortable. I was very, very comfortable in gray areas.
Yes,
I
you
was
were.
very, very comfortable in like abstract truth, half truths, half commitments. Let me say yes, but not really.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm really big on black and white, and I think I just pushed you to that because I remember even confronting you at one point, maybe 1 or 2 years within our marriage, because I feel like one of my non-negotiables is clear communication and constant communication.
Yeah.
So
Can I say it though? Because like I feel like I have this thing where I just want to be like super on this episode. It's just in my head, right? Because we never script these. I want you guys to know that. We don't script them. We just, hey, what do we want to talk about? Let's push record. That's a great thought. We don't script them. But I feel like since we started off with never have I ever, I think like never will we ever, right? I think when you talk about honesty, it's like never will we ever put up with dishonesty, right? That's a non-negotiable for us. Like never will we ever tolerate dishonesty.
Yeah.
In our marriage, right? And now sorry I interrupted you, but I think it's important for you to remind us why though.
Well, I think one of the huge reasons, because you love to live in the gray, I was always uncertain of what you were going to do. So you would tell me, "Oh, I'll be home in a bit," but in a bit means nothing to
Totally
me.
relative.
Right.
Totally
And so I'm
relative.
like, "No, I need a time."
Yeah.
And you would get so annoyed with me when you would say, "Well, it'll be like maybe 30, 45 minutes." No, I need a time. And I would push you to like, it's either black or white. We're not living in this gray
Yeah.
because I didn't feel secure and I wanted you to hold up to your word. I think me not knowing, I was helping you become a man of your word.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I remember distinctly moments where you would challenge me and you would say, Cruz, all I have, or the security that I should have, is the security in your word that
Mhm.
you're gonna say, you're gonna do what you said you're gonna do.
Yeah.
And I remember you challenging me, like, either I can trust what you say or I can't.
Yeah, and it started with something simple like being home at the time you said you were
For
going to be
sure.
home.
For
And if
sure.
you weren't going to be home, say 6 o'clock, then you were going to call me,
Yeah.
"Hey, I'm running 15 minutes early or I'm running 15 minutes late," whatever it was. And I stopped like bugging you. And to me, it was so important, like that I can trust what you were going to say, even when it came to the super simple things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for us, that non-negotiable of honesty, never will we ever tolerate dishonesty with each other, became the foundation of honor and respect and character and integrity. I think honestly, baby, it became fundamental for our intimacy
Mhm.
as well, because you know when you can trust the words I say, then you believe me, you believe everything I say, right? You believe me when I say you're beautiful. You believe me
Mhm.
when I say that you are the apple of my eye. You're the only one. Like there's no one else, right? Like you're the love of my life. You believe me when I say that. Versus, man, what else is this guy being dishonest about?
Right. So what made you shift? Because you used to push back on me a lot and be like, "Well, what's 15 minutes? I can't believe like 15 minutes is such a big deal to you." Remember, we would get
Yeah.
into those fights.
Yeah.
So then you eventually stopped like going at me and submitted, honestly, and said, "Okay, I'm gonna be the man that I said I was, and I'm gonna come home on time." We're doing that just for an example. But what made you switch?
Well, the truth is, so when this transition and this evolution, this maturity happened for me, I was still in corporate America. I wasn't a pastor yet. I wasn't in ministry yet full time. So I was around a lot of different types of people, different types of personalities. Now you have to understand, when you draw a non-negotiable, you're drawing a line and you're saying we will not waver, or we're going to do our very best not to waver from this line. And one of the things, obviously, what motivated me was your desire and your demand, right? Respecting you, learning to respect you, learning to honor you. That was a driving force for sure. Which, like as we're talking about it, babe, like let's just remind ourselves that a relationship with no trust is no relationship at all.
Right.
Like you cannot have a true relationship with no trust.
Yeah.
Like there's just no way.
No, that's where it becomes toxic. That's where it becomes like you're suspicious all the time.
For sure.
You're nice to the waitress, and then all of a sudden you have a blow up because you were nice to the waitress, and like everything now is suspicious.
Yeah. So, but for me, and maybe I've never shared this. I don't know that I've shared this with you ever. But I I was around. I was in an industry that was very chauvinistic, very well, not chauvinistic, but it was male driven. Right. It was very male driven, and I came across a season of my life where some of my counterparts did not carry the best character. And, they weren't outright cheating on their wives, but they were very disrespectful and dishonorable to their wives. And I remember being in a setting once where it was like the typical, like, hey, we're going to go out after work type thing, but let's just all coordinate and tell our wives that we're working late.
Oh wow.
And it became like, eventually it eroded into one or two of the guys, like, while we were on the, like, because I would travel with these guys every once in a while, like to do projects and stuff, and I won't go into details, but I mean incredibly disrespectful stuff, right? Like strip clubs, and interacting with women at in other offices, blah blah blah, and it just clicked for me where it's a slow fade. No one ever wakes up one day and says, man, today, you know what, I'm just gonna cheat on my wife, right? No one wakes up, right, like from point blank, like ground
Right.
zero, right? But it's a slow fade. It's a progression into making that decision of infidelity and unfaithfulness. And the truth is, I saw it this way, and I still see it this way very clearly. The moment you become unfaithful is not the moment you meet the mistress in the hotel room. The moment you become unfaithful is the moment you get comfortable lying to your spouse.
Right.
The moment you entertain a untruth, the moment you entertain a private life, the moment you entertain withholding something and not having full disclosure with your spouse, that's the moment unfaithfulness begins to be born in your life, right? And so I remember seeing that because like the guys that one or two of the guys that I'm remembering, this is 20 plus years ago, but they were good guys. And I actually started off respecting them, but then I just saw the progression, and that at the same time, you and I were sorting this out personally and privately in our home. And I just made a commitment that like, man, I'm just not going to let myself, I can't, I have to draw this boundary. This boundary is going to keep me from floating away. It's going to anchor me. Now, are we perfect? Absolutely not. Right. But it's going to keep us anchored. It's going to keep my behind home. And it's going to keep us safe. Right. And so I think over the last 20 plus years, it's built a structure of trust and a structure of security between you and I.
Yeah, I really believe like the Holy Spirit just does lead you. If you're spirit led, the Holy Spirit will just help you have certain conversations to protect your house.
Yeah.
Obviously, I didn't know about all that stuff, Not that you were going to strip clubs because you just said strip clubs, and you need to make sure.
Quantify
that.
That's another conversation. Like it's like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm staying at the hotel. Yeah, I wasn't perfect in my younger years, right? Now, when you and I got married, I was right with God. I was living with integrity.
Right.
I was living with character. I've never stepped outside of our boundary of marriage. I've never entertained conversations. I think that's the fruit of our life today. Right. But before marriage, I made stupid decisions, but I never went down that path. I just always felt that was kind of icky.
So, like I said, if you're spirit led, the Holy Spirit will definitely help you lead your house. If one of the spouses is not being completely truthful, not that you weren't, but you were still kind of resisting me. And again, because I didn't know any of that, I just knew, look, my husband is a man of integrity and honor, but if he can't keep his word to me, then I don't know what else is going on. But the Holy Spirit was like, push on that. And you submitted to that. And I really believe that that's where it starts, where you have mutual respect with one another, because it's not just you to me and me to you. Like, obviously, it's both of us submitting to one another, and then ultimately submitting to Christ.
Yeah, I think you saying something really, really key is this: that there's a mutual respect, right? As I'm thinking about this right now, I'm thinking about like, man, why did I grow up with this? Because it wasn't something that just appeared when you and I got married or built a relationship. This is something I did since I was a little kid, and I think that one of the things was that I was used to living in these half truths almost as like a protection mechanism, because there was not a consistent source of authority. And so the authority in my life and in my home when I was growing up was very, very erratic. Right. And here's what I mean by that. What I mean by that is like one day. So think about it this way in this analogy. One day I'm get pulled over and I'm going 5 miles over. And depending on the mood of the police officer, he says, hey, you know what? Like, I'm just going to let you go. Then I get pulled over the next day, 5 miles, exact same infraction, exact same thing. But because he's just not feeling, or he's feeling in a different way, he's like, you know what? You're going straight to jail, and I'm going to book you, and you're going to get 15 years for the same thing. Right. And so it was a real erratic interaction with us in terms of authority, and there was never a agreed upon set of values in terms of when this happens, right? So I just didn't know what I was going to get, and so I think a lot of times it was just like, you know what, I'm just going to protect myself, and if I'm going to be in trouble, I'm going to be in trouble, but at least I'm going to try to protect myself the best way I can.
So it was a protective mechanism for you.
Yeah, for sure. But then what happened is I was able to see your consistency, right? So like, I remember the first few times I would call and say, hey, you know what? Because one of the things that I loved to do when we were younger and before we had kids, and when we were married, younger, no kids, was I'd love to go play basketball a couple of times a week, right? Like we lived right around the corner from a gym that had a basketball court, blah, blah, blah. And so I would go run with a group of guys Tuesdays and Thursdays. And every once in a while, we would go on a good run and like we would be winning more and blah, blah, blah. And so I would call you. Now, that's where I would get into trouble. It's like, man, like, I'm not going to leave like we're on a winning streak, right? And I'm not even going to call because we're playing, you know? And I remember one time it was just like, hey, yo, hold on. I need to call my wife. Right. And I remember calling and saying, hey, listen, I know I told you I was going to be here home at this time, but this is what's going on. So let me finish this game. I'll tell you where we're at, what's happening. And you were like, okay, cool. Thanks for letting me know. Right.
Yeah.
Like you didn't blow up on me. You were like, oh my God, you always do this. You don't care. Like, and I was expecting an atomic bomb, like true story. Like I was expecting some sort of nuclear, you know, like just this thing is going to go apocalyptic, but it didn't. And consistently you met me there. So like, that's my point to your point, right? Which is like, there was a mutual respect and it was a mutual submission and you kept your word. Right. And so you keeping your word and you being consistent made it so much easier for me to keep my word and be consistent and discover that it was safe for me to have integrity and to be honest. Right. Like if you really know me now, there is a real deep commitment to honesty and integrity and character that lies within me. And I think it's always been there. I just didn't know how to, I didn't know how to protect myself from inconsistent interactions, so it made me bend my integrity a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I really like how you pointed that out because I think in this, say this is the first time talking about boundaries, you're going to start drawing boundaries. You need to talk to the person that you're going to draw the boundary with. That way they do meet you halfway.
Right.
Because the one time that you put the boundary and then they, you know, if they don't respect that or if they do blow up on you, then you're going to go back into your old habits again because you don't want to face that.
Right.
But say you start putting boundaries and that other person isn't agreeable to them. Now you have a different conversation.
Yeah, I think there's always work to do when it comes to setting the non-negotiables and setting the boundaries, right? Because non-negotiables are a really strong term, but it should be. There should be things that do not move.
Yeah.
Or do not move easily. I think over time some non-negotiables may evolve, but they cannot be shared assumptions. You and I have talked about this for years, that we used to have shared assumptions.
Yeah.
I just thought you would do this and you just thought I would do that. And it went well while the assumption was met, but then one day the assumption was not met and it turned into real chaos, or not chaos, but it turned into a real like friction and a little bit of drama. And so rather than living with shared assumptions where we just think we assume the same things, we've decided to live with agreed upon values and agreed upon boundaries.
I was going to say that's a good point because as you mature, as you age, chronologically, you know, you should be a different person.
Absolutely.
So there are some things that you think I still am, which I am not.
Correct.
Which surprises you. And it's like,
Correct.
but 3 years ago you used to like
Correct.
this. And I'm like, yeah, and I don't
I'm not
anymore.
into that anymore.
But that's what communication is all about.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
I think that's what ongoing open communication should do for your relationship is give you insight to the other person's personality.
Yeah.
There's some times where it's like, oh man, you used to do this. I go, yeah, but I've changed and I'm not going to do that anymore. If you give me some time to show you, this is who I am now.
Absolutely.
Because I'm hoping as a person, I've changed and I've evolved too.
Yeah, no, for sure. Another non-negotiable that you and I have is that we've made a commitment that never will we ever go to bed angry with each other.
I don't got the energy for that anyway, so.
I think, you know, honestly, baby, I think that's something that we've done really well over the years, right? I think, now please correct me if this is wrong, but I think it's unreasonable to say or to expect that you'll never fight and you'll never have friction and you'll never have intense interactions, right?
Right.
And you know, a lot of times people think that anger is the issue, right? But one of the things that I teach people around us is that actually anger is part of the dashboard emotionally that the Lord gave you. Like the Creator, the Lord made us with anger. Like anger is God-given. Anger is the thing inside of us that lets us know there's something happening that I don't like or that is wrong. And a lot of times people will say, man, I got to get rid of this anger, but then you break your emotional dashboard, right? And the scriptures in the New Testament say it this way in Ephesians chapter 4, I think it's like around verse 26 or 5:26. Paul says specifically to husbands and wives, he says, be angry,
Yeah.
right? Be angry, but don't sin.
Mm-hmm.
and don't let the sun go down on your anger. And so, we took that literally. Don't let the sun go down. Now, the word or that statement, don't let the sun go down, it means don't live in patterns or in grudges of anger.
Yeah,
right?
at the beginning of our marriage, we totally didn't do that. We would go to
Right.
bed angry, but unfortunately, I was the only one that never slept because you would just fall
like
asleep.
a big old baby.
And that's when I figured out, I'm like, oh, no, this is not happening because he does not care.
I slept good.
And he's going to sleep. So yeah, that didn't last too long.
No, but it was cool because we negotiated that. And I think that was something that has really blessed our relationship, that we don't go to bed angry.
Right. I think one of the, I heard this from somebody, I can't even remember where, but going to bed angry, what it does is that it plays a certain playlist in your head, right? So you go to bed, you're angry, he doesn't love me, he doesn't care, he doesn't even, you have this playlist. So now you're harboring those thoughts.
Yeah.
And those thoughts become part of you. The next day you wake up, it's still the same playlist. And so what happens is like you can't break out of that pattern because those are your thoughts, and your thoughts will become who you are
100%.
if you continue in those thoughts. So ever since I heard that, I'm like, okay, you know what? We had an argument. I still love you though. I'm going to go to bed. Tomorrow we'll pick it up.
Yeah, 100%. So I love that you mentioned that about neurocognition. So neurologically, what happens is when you go to sleep, everything that you learned that day, your brain begins to code it. It begins to hardwire it into your synapses and into your neurological environment, and you really learn that you actually hardwire anger, hurt, humiliation, bitterness. It just begins to hardwire in your mind. And here's what I love: how science and the spirit interact. Paul said it this way: be angry, but don't sin. Meaning, don't let the anger control you. Don't let the sun go down on your anger, so you don't give the enemy a foothold. Right? Essentially, the word foothold means a way into your life. Right? And think about that. Right? So a lot of us, we aren't evil people. We aren't doing these demonic things, but the enemy is able to find a seam, right? A little crack in the thought that you're thinking when you go to sleep, right? And what happens is you don't see it as a foothold until it becomes a stronghold, right? And then you wake up, 3 years later, and it's like, why do we hate each other?
Yeah. Or I knew he didn't love me. I knew you confirm everything I've been thinking because that's all you're meditating on.
Right. And then eventually what happens is like, so 1 night, 2 nights, 1 week, 2 weeks doesn't seem that much, but what it's doing is just hardwiring that into your mind, into your psyche. And then you wake up 2-3 years later, and what used to be incredible love now is incredible just resentment towards each other. And you ask yourself, where did this come from? Well, it came from every just those nights, right, where it just got tapped into your brain. It just got hardwired into your brain, right? And so we've made a commitment as best as we can. We're not perfect with it, but one of our non-negotiables is that we are not going to live in a pattern of anger. We're not going to live in a grudge. Like, never will we ever do that to each other. We're not going to we're not in high school anymore, and we're not going to play these stupid games of like, I'm going to give you the cold shoulder. Like, that's one of the things that I love about you is that if you're the one that comes to reconcile, you come and you're very loving. If I'm the one that goes to reconcile, you allow me to be loving to you. And makeup sex is amazing, and I absolutely love it. That's really helpful if you're married. I enjoy that a lot. Is that too real? I don't know, but this is for grown people. That's if you're married.
For the grown and sexy.
Yeah, for the grown and sexy. That's if you're married, right? Like, and we allow each other, we give each other that space, right? Like, there have been patterns in our lives where physical intimacy is part of our reconciliation, where it's just like, no, dude, we're not going to hold that back. I'm not going to weaponize intimacy. I'm not going to weaponize sex. I'm not going to weaponize it and hold it over you as part of my grudge, right? It's like, no, man, that should be a non-negotiable, right? So I think that's a big deal.
I've heard I used to do that where I'm like, oh, I'm not going to talk to you for like a day. I'm not going to talk to you until you apologize, whatever. But it didn't work for you because you were
like a gift. I felt like, oh, I like this. Like,
you were just chilling in your own way, and I was the only one being tormented by it. Yeah. So I learned. It took me a minute to learn that, but yeah, we don't do that. That's very petty.
It's petty and it's childish and it's immature, and really, that's what we're building.
And especially if you have kids, your kids will understand the environment that they're in.
Oh, for sure.
Because they oh my gosh, kids just figure everything out. Why are you
Yeah,
guys
no.
mad? Why aren't you talking? Da, da,
Yeah,
da.
yeah.
And it's like, I don't want to raise my kids like
Yeah.
that.
And then, let me just expand it a little bit. Like, like you're 24, 25 and you have friends and you're going to play that game with your friends. Like, what is this, 7th grade? It's like, oh, we're not going to talk to you. And you're going to
Yeah,
play the
now
mean
your
girl
friends,
game. And
your
now
friends
you're-
have to pick.
No, it's crazy, man. Right. And now you're like 31 years old and you're ghosting people on text messages and you're blocking and here's one thing that like, if I've mentioned it several times in different areas, but it's like, and you're gonna leave the group chat or you're gonna turn off your location, stop sharing your location, right? Like it's crazy to me how people get.
Let's
their
not
feelings
even
hurt, right?
talk about
No, we're not gonna talk.
location.
But here's what I'm saying. What
I'm
I'm
like,
saying
don't
is,
even
what I'm saying
give
is
that
like,
to anybody.
My point
Period.
is like just have these non-negotiables where I'm not gonna allow grudges and I'm not gonna allow negativity and negative emotions to rule my life. That's a great non-negotiable.
Yeah, and that's for relationships across the
Right,
board.
regardless what kind of space you live in. Like that's an incredible non-negotiable. You essentially, it's what Proverbs teaches, right? 4:23. I'm going to guard my heart because my heart actually becomes the filter with which I live every aspect of my life, right? So let's do a rapid fire. Like we have a couple more minutes left in this conversation. Like let's do a rapid fire of some of our non-negotiables. I'll go. Never will I ever have a personal relationship with someone of the opposite sex that you don't know and that you're not connected to.
Yes.
Like that's a non-negotiable for us.
100%.
Non-negotiable.
Yes.
Like that's not even a conversation. We're not going to get mad about it, and we don't have to talk about it. But like, there's absolutely no reason I should have a female friend that you don't know. But I'm like, oh yeah, that's just my friend. Like that's a non-negotiable. You do whatever you want with that. For us,
It's a
we're not doing that. We're not playing that game. And you really struggled with that. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. Like, no, I think we've done a great job in respecting each other. What's another non-negotiable that we have?
Never will I ever lie to you about anything that comes to money or crashing the car or anything of that matter.
You know what? But I think we're chuckling at it, but I think that's a big deal. Here's why: because I didn't make it easy for you early in our relationship, early in our marriage. Especially when it came things to. With the cars. Now, look, we're going to keep it a buck in the living room, right? Like Diana is hard on cars. Now, it comes with the territory. She drives around all day, every day for work. But man, twice a month for a while. Actually, you've been doing good.
Yeah.
But twice a month for a good while,
Yeah.
There was a flat tire.
To me, I
there
thought
was a
flat tires
breakdown.
were normal. Like just get a change, no big deal. But yeah, you've been kinder.
Yeah, well, I would get all mad and I would treat you like a child is what it was. I would fuss at you, and I think that became something that you were afraid to say. Like the truth is, I made it scary for you to say something, right? And so I appreciate now that the non-negotiable of like, man, we're just gonna be honest about things that are happening around our lives, right? Again, we're back at the point of honesty. I think that is a fundamental non-negotiable for any relationship you're in, whatever type it is. There's got to be like the non-negotiable of honesty. Never will we ever cuss at each other. Now I wrestled with that when we were younger. Every once in a while I still get angry. And I'm not going to say that I'm running around with a potty mouth, but like, I'm not perfect. But I think I've done much better, but I think when we say like cuss at each other, I think we mean like say hurtful, wounding things. That's a non-negotiable for us.
Yeah. That's
right?
how we fight fair. We banned like bad or negative language towards one another when we're mad at each other.
Yeah, and if you go back, I think it's like episode 2 or 3 on how to fight fair. It's a really good episode, so go check it out when you get a chance. What else?
I feel like it's because honesty covers so much.
Yeah.
So I feel like we've covered it.
Well, how about this one? I think maybe it's an unspoken one, but I think we do it really well. We don't, non-negotiable for us is like we don't allow our kids to pit us against each other. For a while, they would try to play that game. They would try to put us against each other. It's
definitely.
It's
when they were like
now, I gotta
4
whisper.
or 5.
I gotta whisper because the girls are in the other room, and they can hear everything.
Yeah, they have
right?
like supersonic hearing, like
wild,
me.
right? But for a while, they were trying to create civil war, and they knew they could. It's crazy. They were like 9 or 6, and it was like they knew. And for a minute, they started kind of putting us against each other. But then you and I just kind of like locked arms, and we had like a conversation. Like, these little scoundrels aren't going to do this to us.
Yeah, and I think that's super important, especially because one of you is going to be the softie. I'm shocked that it's me because I didn't think it was going to be me, and it's me.
It's wild.
Maybe because it's girls. I don't know. But I'm the softie. And so I would always be like, oh, it's okay. Let's do it like this. And Cruz is like, no, we need to come together. It's both of us because they're going to leave and we're staying together.
100%.
And so I've stepped up to that, and I respect and honor that. And I've seen where you feel respected when we lock arms and, we establish certain rules for the girls and we're both in agreement.
Yeah.
And it is what it is for them, but this is what it is for us.
Yeah. We haven't perfected this one yet, or I haven't perfected this one yet, but I'm working on it. I think I'm doing a little bit better. You can tell the truth. But we're trying to create a non-negotiable that never will we ever allow work to be more important than our family. And I see the smile on your face. I don't know if you noticed.
I've never had that issue.
Hey, rewind it. I'm glad that it was more. You've never had that issue versus, you're not doing good with that.
No.
About me. No. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that like there's like any weirdness there.
So
like,
mean.
well, it would be honest, and I gave you permission to be honest with me. But I'm the one that tends to be a workaholic.
Yeah,
I'm the one that
I
tends
just
to
don't struggle when
Yeah.
work is done. Work is done.
I'm the one that tends to be to have no boundary with work, and so I think we've done a much better job
It's
of
definitely gotten
protecting
better.
our home, protecting our home, and saying no. Like our home is number one, our family is number one, our children are number one. I think that's a big deal for us.
Yeah.
Never will we ever not give God his place. That's a non-negotiable for us. Our
That's
faith,
non-negotiable.
our relationship with the Lord Jesus
Yeah.
Christ is a non-negotiable for us. We'll talk about that very, very in depth pretty soon. But I think that's our faith, our commitment to the Lord. A non-negotiable for us is that we're not gonna give the girls a choice, right? When they're children.
Yeah, well,
right?
yeah, when it comes to certain things,
here's what I'm saying. When it comes to their faith.
with
right?
their faith,
Yeah,
100%.
we're raising them in the fear.
Yes.
So the old school statement is in the fear and admonition of the Lord,
Yeah.
right? Which is we're going to raise them in the principles of the scriptures with a sincere relationship with the Lord. We're going to do our best to live as examples of faith. I think a lot of parents struggle with that because they sense the hypocrisy, because it's like, and this is not me throwing stones at other parents, but I'm just being honest. Like, I think a lot of parents struggle with it because they're not living with their faith as a non-negotiable, and there's just a lot of inconsistencies there, and their
Right.
kids see it.
Yeah.
And
kids
so,
are quick to bust you out.
100%, right?
That is definitely an honor. As for me and my house,
We will serve the Lord.
we will serve the Lord.
Here's another one and I appreciate this one. Never will we ever treat each other like we're each other's parent, right? I appreciate that as we've gotten older, you don't mom me, right?
Yeah, that's not my place, and I don't want to be that.
Yeah, and vice versa. And
Yeah.
I think that's something we've discussed in the past about I'm not your son, you're not my mom, I'm not your dad, you're not my daughter, you're my wife, you're my best friend, and we're gonna treat each other that way. And so I think that's a big deal. What else? Any other non-negotiables that come to your mind?
Nope.
No, I think and I love that we're ending on that note, right? Because it doesn't have to be complicated.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't have to be super complex. Maybe you're hearing some of this stuff and it inspires you to go have a conversation with yourself, a conversation with maybe some friends, siblings, with your spouse. Just take that away. It doesn't have to be complicated. It can be something that is very, very simple, but you're just committed to, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm grateful that you are the person I'm building these never will I evers and never have I evers and never will I ever for the rest of my life. I love you.
Love you.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the living room. Glad you're here. Really enjoy this time with you guys. As always, hit that subscribe button, turn on that bell notification, and we drop every week. So keep rocking with us. Let us know in the comments how this is helping you, how this is blessing you, if you're enjoying this, and let us know what you want us to talk about, right? Like, we are always ears open for what our community wants to hear. So until next time, love y'all.